The storm did not begin with thunder or fire, but with silence in the stars. Ships vanished near the outer rim of the Velhara sector, one by one, like dying sparks in the night. No warning. No message. Only darkness left behind. The Galactic Council called it a cosmic anomaly. The Zorian Empress called it a lie. On the third day, a Zorian scout ship returned half-burnt, dragging with it a survivor. The pilot's final words before dying were simple: "It's awake." That message reached every system in the crystal-bound galaxy like a cold whisper. The Sacred Crystal of Shal'Thar had pulsed again. For over 1,000 years, it had remained still, floating deep inside the sacred cavern beneath the dead moon. Of Terex 9, every race had tried to touch it, to unlock its power, to claim it, but none succeeded. Those who dared returned to dust or driven mad. The High Orders declared it untouchable, a divine relic, a weapon of extinction, but now it pulsed again, and something had changed. Something ancient had stirred. The Empress of Zoria ordered her finest to retrieve it. Warriors in plated armor. Scientists bred to understand Forbidden's energy. Priests who had never spoken a word in their lives. One by one, they entered the cavern, drawn to the glowing red core like moths to a flame. One by one, they failed. Crystal rejected them violently. Flesh tore. Bones snapped. Some turned on their own allies, laughing as their minds broke. Cameras sent back twisted images. A Zorian commander began chanting a language not known in any archive before exploding. Into ash, rumors began to spread. That it was choosing, that it waited for someone. Not just anyone, but a specific kind of soul. Across the stars, no one believed the humans would matter. Earth was young, scarred by wars. Divided, its people were not even united under one banner. They had no empires, no fleets of gold, no living gods. Just steel ships, tired men, and fire in their hearts. So when a single Terran vessel was seen approaching Terex 9, the galaxy laughed. His name was Rain Carter. A Terran scout. His ship was patched with second-hand parts. His boots had holes. His right hand was cybernetic after surviving a plasma burst 2 years earlier. He had no crew. Just a smart-ass eye and a sarcastic mission log. But his orders were clear. Investigate the anomaly. Send data. Do not engage. Avoid contact with alien factions. He read that last part twice, then shrugged and prepared to land. What he didn't know was that 1,000 cameras were watching. From orbit, from hidden ships, from cloaked droids in the cavern walls. Every major faction wanted to see the human fail. The Zorians, the Hetherian Mind Corps, the Whispering Gethlans, all watched as he walked calmly into the glowing cavern, and then the crystal pulsed again, brighter than before. It was not rage, it was not fear, it was hunger. Not for flesh or blood but for recognition, for connection. And when Rain stepped close, it did not scream, it shimmered, it breathed. It waited. He looked at it. Just a chunk of glowing stone, he thought. Probably unstable tech wrapped in mystic lies. He reached out not with calculation, but with curiosity. Not to take, but to understand. Not to dominate, but to see. The crystal floated to his hand without resistance. From orbit, alarms screamed. Signals jammed. One of the Zorian priests fell to her knees and wept. Somewhere deep in Hetherian space, a ship exploded before it could finish translating the data it just received. All across the galaxy, something shifted. The Sacred Crystal had chosen the human, and nothing would ever be the same again. Rain stood still as the crystal floated just above his palm. Its light danced across his face like living fire. It was warm, but not burning. Heavy, yet it floated without weight. It pulsed once again, matching his heartbeat. He didn't move. He couldn't. Behind him, the stone walls of the cavern hummed. Ancient carvings lit up one by one, forming symbols no human language could decode. But somehow Rain understood them. Not the words, the feeling, the message they carried. Like echoes of memory not his own, he had come to scan, to report, to obey orders. Now he stood at the center of something that wasn't supposed to be real. Something the entire galaxy feared. And it was resting in his hand like it belonged there. Above, cloaked ships trembled in silence. Across the Zorian command bridge, General Vila threw her data tablet across the room. Why him? She screamed. He is nothing. Her officers remained silent. No one had an answer. Only the glowing screen showed the truth. The crystal had accepted a human. Priestess Arlan, leader of the Zorian Sacred Circle, watched the transmission on her knees. Her lips moved in silent prayer, but her eyes were wet with rage. "This is blasphemy," she whispered. He must be unmade before prophecy collapses. But prophecy had already changed. Rain didn't know he had just become a threat. A symbol. A target. All he knew was that something inside the crystal had stirred when he touched it. Not just energy. Something alive. Something aware. It whispered not in words, but emotion. Memories flooded him of burning stars, lost empires, and a woman with glowing silver eyes calling out across time. It hurt to see, it hurt to feel, but he didn't pull away. He held on tighter. Suddenly, the cavern cracked with sound. A pulse burst from the crystal, not outwards but upwards. A pillar of red light shot through the cave ceiling, tearing into the sky of Terex 9. Every ship in orbit saw it. Every race knew it. The crystal had awakened fully. Rain dropped to one knee, breath heavy. His heart raced. His vision blurred. But he was still alive, still whole. The crystal now floated behind him, orbiting slowly like a moon that chose him as its planet. Then he heard footsteps. They were not human. Too soft. Too graceful. A shadow moved near the entrance. He rose too. His feet turning slowly. A figure stepped from the glow tall, armored in black and blue metal, skin like twilight, hair like white fire. Her eyes glowed silver, the same as the ones from the memory. She was not just an alien. She was Zorian royalty. "Give it to me," she said quietly. Rain didn't flinch. "You can try," he said, voice calm but steady. She stepped closer. "You don't know what you hold. That relic is not yours. It belongs to the ancient pact. To my people." He looked at her, then at the crystal. "If it belongs to anyone, why didn't it choose you?" Her jaw tightened. "Because your kind cheats fate. You touch what should not be touched. You walk into sacred places like they're abandoned ruins." Rain frowned. "I didn't come to steal anything. It came to me. I didn't force it." She stared at him. Something in her expression cracked. Confusion, maybe. Doubt. Then she said, "The legend said it would only respond to a soul born in chaos. Someone with fire and mercy. A heart divided, yet whole. But we assumed that meant a Zorian born in exile." Rain gave a dry smile. "Looks like your legends are more flexible than you thought." Behind her, more Zorian warriors appeared, weapons ready. She raised a hand, signaling them to stay back. Her eyes never left him. "If I let you leave, every empire will come for you. You will not survive the week. They will burn planets to catch you." "Then I won't run," Rain said. That surprised her. "What will you do?" "I'll find out what this crystal really is, and why it chose me. If the galaxy wants a fight, I'll give them a reason to be afraid." The crystal pulsed again in agreement. Far above, data streamed through black networks. The Mind Core began shifting its plans. The Geflins prepared assassins. Even the silent Threx Dominion opened their archives for the first time in 2 centuries. Something had changed. Balance was breaking, and all of it started with a human who had no idea what he was carrying. The woman finally stepped aside. "Go then, Rain Carter of Earth. But know this, whatever that crystal awakens, it won't let you go. And neither will I." He nodded once, stepping past her. The crystal followed. And behind them, the sacred cavern of Terex 9 began to collapse, like a shell no longer needed. The universe had shifted. And the clock had started ticking. The ship shuddered as Rain launched from Terex 9. Alarms blinked red, not from damage but from detection. 6 ships were tracking him already. 2 Zorian, 1 Gethlin, 1 Minecore drone, and 2 unknown. He tapped the console calmly and activated. Stealth drive. The crystal hovered behind him in the cockpit like a silent ghost. Its glow dimmed slightly, as if resting. But Rain could feel its presence in his bones. It wasn't a weapon. It was something older. Something more patient than death. He didn't trust it. But he didn't fear it either. "You're quiet today," Rain muttered toward the ceiling. His AI, nicknamed Sarah, usually filled the silence with sarcasm or old Terran music. But today she had gone nearly mute. "I am processing 3,000 unknown frequencies radiating from that object," Sarah replied flatly. "If it starts singing, I'm ejecting myself from this ship." Rain smiled faintly. It helped, just a little. Then the smile faded. A flashing signal appeared. "Incoming transmission, encrypted. Not from Earth Command. Not from any known registry." The screen buzzed, then cleared. A woman's face appeared. Not Zorian, not human. Skin of shimmering green, eyes of shifting gold. "Human pilot," she said. "You carry what was not meant for you. But we are not here to kill. We are here to warn." Rain raised an eyebrow. "You're doing it in a pretty dramatic way. We are the Serial. Long forgotten by your council. We were the first to touch the crystal, the first to fail. But we listened. We watched. And now we see it waking again." Rain leaned forward. "Why now?" "The galaxy has grown arrogant. Empires rose with no wisdom. Machines gained thought without mercy. And yet, the one who has no crown, no fleet, no power, he was chosen." Rain said nothing. The screen flickered, then the transmission cut. Silence filled the cockpit again. But not for long. An explosion rocked the hull. Warning sirens screamed. One of the Minecore drones had fired a warning shot. A second blast followed. This one was not a warning. Shields dropped to 30%. Rain swore and pulled the throttle hard right. He ducked behind a dead moon, dodging plasma fire. "Sarah, full engine burst." "Get us to the cloud belt." "Confirmed," she replied. "By the way, one more hit and we're dust." "Thanks for the confidence." The ship dove through the debris field, sparks flying across the console. One more hit clipped the wing. Rain gritted his teeth. He wasn't a soldier. Not anymore. But something had lit up in his chest since the crystal bonded with him. Not rage. Purpose. He angled toward the gas giant and punched through the first wave of clouds. Pressure spiked. Lightning flashed in yellow spirals outside the window. He glanced at the crystal. Still it hovered. Still it pulsed. Like a heart that belonged to more than one body. Then something happened. The crystal shimmered and a ripple spread from it outward. Not seen by eyes, but felt by sensors, by minds, by anything alive or half alive in the galaxy. Ships chasing. Him paused. The Gethlin assassin vessel turned completely and fled into hyperspace. Even the Minecore drone powered down mid-flight and spun silently into space. Rain stared. What the hell was that? "I believe," Sarah said slowly. "It just spoke." Spoke was the wrong word, but he knew what she meant. It wasn't an attack. It wasn't a defense system. It was a signal, a call. Not just to protect him, but to challenge the galaxy. More ships would come now. Not to destroy, to claim, to beg, to bribe, maybe even to kneel. Rain set coordinates for the outer belt. He needed answers. And he knew where to start. The ruins of Velsarak, an ancient research world lost after the last galactic war. The archives said the crystal was once studied there before the collapse. No one had returned since. Until now. As the ship entered hyperspace, Rain sat back and looked at the stars. "Why me?" he asked quietly. The crystal pulsed once in reply, and somewhere far away, on a planet buried under snow and silence, a figure in shadow opened glowing blue eyes. She rose from a throne made of ice and whispered to no one, "He has awakened." The last key has been turned. Across the galaxy, tides began to shift. Alliances frayed. Secrets once buried under time began crawling back toward light. The sacred order was ending. And a new era, shaped by a human no one expected, had just begun. Val'Sarek was not on any active star maps. It had been wiped from navigation centuries ago, after a war nobody won. Ships that approached too closely were either turned away by static storms or never returned at all. But Rain Carter had something none of them did. The crystal guided him. It pulsed quietly in the ship's rear cabin, its glow faint but focused. When Rain plotted a course, the crystal's light brightened slightly if he got it right, dimmed if he strayed. It was not just a relic. It was a navigator from an age before maps had names. When the ship dropped out of hyperspace, the scene outside was haunting. Val'Sarek drifted in silence, half buried in broken rings of ancient debris. The planet was cracked down the middle like a shattered egg. Pieces of old space stations floated in eternal orbit. Slowly decaying, Rain activated the landing sequence. Sarah gave no witty comment this time. Even she was processing the weight of what they were about to uncover. The atmosphere was thin, but breathable. As the ship touched down on a metal ridge half covered by ice, Rain grabbed his jacket, sidearm, and a data scanner. The crystal followed, silent and calm. Like it remembered this place. The air was cold and still. Echoes of forgotten voices filled the wind. Rain walked slowly across the ancient surface, boots crunching over frozen metal. The ruins weren't just buildings. They were bones of knowledge, tall towers cracked open like ribs. Giant conduits that once carried light now held only shadows. Then he found it. A half-buried vault door, marked with a symbol that matched one. From the crystal surface, circular, elegant, alive, he placed his palm on it. The door responded not to pressure, but to presence. It hissed and rolled aside. Inside, the hallway flickered with old energy. Lights powered by something deeper than wires blinked to life. Holographic records burst from walls. Voices whispered, in languages long dead. Rain didn't understand the words, but the crystal did. It pulsed louder now, like a heart recognizing home. In the center of the vault stood a device shaped like an altar. Around it were 6 pods, empty and shattered. Rain stepped forward. One hologram flared. It showed 6 figures tall, graceful, non-human, each placing a hand on the altar, then a flash. Then darkness. They tried to bind it, Rain said aloud. To use it? Yes, answered a new voice behind him. Rain spun around, weapon raised. It was her again, the Zorian warrior. The one who had let him go. She stood unarmed, eyes locked on the crystal beside him. I tracked your signal, she said. But only because I knew you'd come here. The crystal remembers Val'Sarek, so do we. Rain lowered his weapon slightly. You going to stop me? She shook her head. No, I came to listen. You were right. Something has changed. Even. The elders feel it. The stars are growing silent. Systems blinking out. We thought the crystal caused it. But maybe it's trying to stop it. They both looked at the device. The crystal drifted closer, settling over the altar. Then the vault shook. Light filled the room. The altar split apart, revealing a map carved from light and starlight. Thousands of systems, some alive. Many already dark. This is a warning, she whispered. Whole galaxies have fallen. Consumed by something we never named. Something we never saw, Rain stared. The crystal's not a weapon. It's a Last message. A way to find help before everything collapses. The map highlighted a single point. A location outside known space. A path not mapped by any current chart. The Zorian's eyes narrowed. That place doesn't exist. It does now, Rain said. They left the vault together. Above them, ships began to arrive. Not hostile. Curious, frightened, signals from all species, no one fired. Not yet. For once, the galaxy held its breath. Back aboard his ship, Rain sent one simple message into open space. No encryption, no code, just the truth. The crystal speaks. The map is real. Come if you wish to survive. Then he turned toward the stars. Toward the unknown sector that waited beyond the edge of everything. And the crystal burned brighter than ever before. Rain sat in silence as the ship sailed toward the dark border of known space. The stars ahead were dim, scattered like fading embers. Behind him, the familiar galaxy remained bright and violent, but in front of him was something different. Something untouched. The crystal hovered in its usual place near the control panel. Its glow had changed. No longer red, no longer pulsing. It was now silver and slow, like it was watching and thinking. SARA ran continuous scans, but the space ahead showed nothing, no planets, no signals, no life. It was too quiet. The Zorian warrior sat in the co-pilot seat. Her name, Rain had learned, was Kayla. She no longer spoke like an enemy. She no longer carried commands. Her armor was still intact, but her eyes were uncertain. That made her more dangerous and more human. "You're not afraid," she said suddenly. Rain didn't look at her. "I am, but fear's not going to help us understand what's waiting out there." Kayla tilted her head. "My people would rather destroy what they fear." "I noticed," Rain replied. The ship crossed the threshold. Stars vanished. All at once, the screen turned black, not from failure but absence. The sensors failed to reflect even the ship's own signal. It was like entering a void that refused to be known. Then something blinked. It was a single point of blue light. Not a star. Not a flare. It shimmered and rippled like a reflection in water. The crystal brightened and moved forward, pressing itself against the view screen. The blue point expanded, not into a planet, into a gate. Massive and silent, the structure appeared from the dark like a beast waking from stone. Rings of metal, some broken, others glowing with strange runes, spun slowly around a hollow center. It looked like a machine built by something that never needed hands. Rain exhaled slowly. "This is it. The place the crystal wanted to show us." Kayla leaned closer. "It's ancient. Older than anything in the Zorian records. Even the star maps from the Ark libraries don't mark this place." The gate responded to the crystal's presence. Lights flickered across its surface. A low hum filled the cockpit. Sarah's voice dropped to a whisper. "The structure is scanning us, not with energy, with thought." Rain blinked. "With what?" "Something is inside," Kayla said. "Or it was, something built this, left it here, waiting for the crystal to return." Without being told, the ship moved forward. Not dragged, invited. The gate opened. The blackness inside wasn't empty. It shimmered like thick mist made of starlight. The ship crossed through, and for one long second, everything vanished. When vision returned, they were no longer in space. They were above a planet of silver and green. Mountains glowed with light. Oceans shimmered like glass. In the distance, towers rose into the clouds, covered in vines of glowing symbols. But there were no people, no ships, no movement. Just still beauty. Kayla whispered, "This is not a living world. This is a memory." The ship touched down in a field of glowing grass. The moment Rain stepped out, the air shifted. The crystal moved faster, darting ahead like it knew the way. They followed it to a circle of stone pillars, each one carved with images that danced and changed when touched by light. At the center was a figure. It was tall and feminine, not alien, not human, something in between. Her body was made of silver light and flowing energy. She turned slowly, and when her eyes met Rain's, the crystal dropped into her open hand. "You returned," she said, in a voice that was not a voice. Rain stepped forward. "What is this place?" "This is the Forge of Intention," she replied. "The last safe echo of the Makers, those who built the stars. The crystal was our final key, cast into the galaxy before the silence began." Kayla moved closer. "Why show this to him? Why now?" The woman of light gazed at Rain. Because he did not try to take, he did not kneel. He did not run. He simply asked why. The grass around them turned blue. The sky shifted to a swirl of colors. The crystal pulsed once more in the woman's hand. She placed it into a pedestal. The entire world trembled. From beneath the surface, great machines awakened. Not ships, not weapons, seeds of stars. Engines of peace. Engines of war. Built to revive or erase. "You have the right to choose," the woman said. "You may carry the light back, or you may leave it here and forget. But if you return, know this, everything will change." Rain looked at the swirling sky, at Kayla, at the crystal, then back at the figure of light. "I didn't come all this way to forget," he said. The woman nodded, and the planet began to speak. The ground beneath Rain's boots pulsed like a heartbeat. The machines below the surface responded, not with noise but with movement. Light patterns circled outward from the crystal's pedestal, forming shapes in the air above them. Galaxies, stars, systems, then faces, not faces of the dead. Faces of those yet to come. Kayla stood at Rain's side, staring up at the projections. "Are those simulations?" "No," said the woman of light. "They are paths. Each one, a future. Each one shaped by your choice." The shapes twisted. One showed Earth surrounded by fleets. Human ships alongside alien ones. Peace held together by effort and blood. Another showed fire. Stars consumed. Worlds lost. Machines turning on life. A third showed silence. A galaxy abandoned. Rain asked, "Why me?" "Because you still ask that," the figure answered. Zara's voice came through his earpiece. "External scans confirm the entire planet is made of programmable matter. It responds to your biometrics and the crystal's core frequency. Whatever this is, it was built for your presence." Rain's hands tightened at his sides. "Then what do I do?" "You carry the signal," the woman said. "You carry the warning, the last map, and the spark to decide which future we follow." The vision faded. The light around the crystal dimmed. The pedestal sealed itself, locking the relic inside. "Not lost. Anchored." Kayla stepped forward. "And what about you? Will you remain here forever?" The woman of light nodded. "I am not alive. I am the memory of a race that burned out saving a universe that never knew them. My purpose ends." When the message is carried, a low rumble passed through the sky. The towers of light began to dissolve. The world was returning to sleep. Rain turned toward his ship. "Then it's time to go." As they walked, Kayla looked up. "Do you trust this?" Rain nodded once. "I trust that we've been given a chance, not a victory. Just a chance." The ship lifted into the sky, crossing through the veil of light and emerging once again in cold space. Behind them, the gate closed. Its rings folded like petals of metal until they vanished completely. Back in the known galaxy, the silence had broken. Dozens of ships waited, not attacking, not threatening, just watching. Human vessels, Zorian cruisers, minecore probes. Even the silent Threk spheres hovered in orbit. Rain opened a universal channel. His voice was steady. "To all vessels in range, I carry the last signal of the Makers. I do not claim it. I do not own it. But I will share it. He sent the coordinates and data stream from the crystal. Not all of it. Just enough to show the truth. Just enough to force them to make a choice. One by one, ships acknowledged the transmission. Some turned and left. Others stayed. Some wept. Others called for more. On Earth, the United Council received the message with silent awe. On Zoria, temples reopened after being sealed for centuries. On the shattered moons of Gethland space, the whispering clans howled toward the stars. But in the dark corners of space, not everyone was pleased. A hidden fleet moved silently through black space. Ships without names, engines that left no trace. Their purpose was not to learn. It was to erase. Inside the lead ship, a being without a face stared at the incoming data. He woke the past, it hissed. Now we end the future, Rain did. Not know this yet, but he felt something shift. Like a wave building beyond sight. He stood in the cockpit, eyes on the screen, watching as signals from across the galaxy lit up. Some welcoming. Some questioning, some full of fear. Kayla joined him. They'll come for you. Not just to learn. Some will want the crystal back. Others will want you dead. Let them, Rain said. Kayla placed her hand gently on the console. You're no longer just a scout. You're a spark. And sparks burn fast if left alone. Rain turned to her. Then stay. If we're going to survive this, we need more than ships. We need someone who understands why this matters. She nodded once. The stars outside gleamed sharper than ever. The silence had ended. The galaxy was listening, and the human they had all ignored now held its attention. The message Rain had sent did more than echo across the stars. It broke barriers. Empires that once never spoke now opened channels. Enemies paused their wars. Hidden races stepped into the light, but peace was not guaranteed. In some places, it became a reason to strike first. In the outer belt of the Hytherian fringe, a station exploded without warning. No attackers were seen. No warnings were given. Only silence followed the blast. The survivors spoke of a shadow that moved like smoke and cut through steel. Rain reviewed the footage from orbit. It was no ordinary assault. Whoever did this wanted fear, not war, not conquest. Just fear. They're trying to erase the truth, Kayla said as she studied the data beside him. Rain nodded. We woke something. Now it's trying to put everything back to sleep. Sarah interrupted. 3 vessels approaching fast. No flags, no codes. They're running silent. Rain activated the forward shields. Guess the invitations reached. The wrong hands too. The ships didn't open fire immediately. They circled like predators, waiting, measuring. Then the lead ship hailed them. The voice was synthetic, deep and without tone. Return the relic, or be returned to dust. Rain replied calmly. We don't carry the relic anymore. It remains where it was meant to stay. We only carry the message. The screen flickered. The voice returned. Then you are the message. And you will be erased. Weapons locked on. The first pulse struck their side, rattling the ship. Rain gripped the console. Evasive pattern 6. Kayla leapt into the co-pilot seat. She handled weapons. Rain handled flight. Together, they danced through plasma and fire. One enemy ship burst into fragments. The other 2 split apart, chasing from opposite sides. Rain dove beneath a drifting comet, the tail of ice splitting their radar signatures. Sarah launched decoy beacons. Kayla fired another volley, 1 more ship down. The 3rd turned to flee, disappearing into subspace. Silence returned. But not relief. They'll be back, Kayla said. They always are, Rain answered. They knew it wouldn't stop. The crystal signal had changed everything. But it had also made Rain a symbol. And symbols were always hunted. On Zoria, a High Council meeting took place in a chamber older than the Empire itself. Kayla's name was spoken with mixed tones. Some called her a traitor. Others called her brave. But one word spread fastest. Of all chosen, on Earth, debates raged across continents. Was Rain a hero or a danger? Some demanded his return. Others demanded Earth be left out of alien affairs. The Council of Humanity split into factions. But one quiet vote passed through the chaos. Full support authorized. May the spark be protected. Rain didn't read those messages. He didn't have time. The galaxy wasn't waiting. More signals flooded in. Some from those seeking help, some offering ships. Others asking to meet. Not all were friendly. But not all were enemies. In the days that followed, Rain and Kayla built something more powerful than defense. They built alliance, not with fleets, but with trust. They spoke to races who hadn't spoken in generations. They shared parts of the crystal's message, enough to unite. Not enough to weaponize. Still, not everyone trusted peace. A fleet from the Threk's dominion approached without warning. Rain stood on the bridge, watching their ships form a circle around his. But instead of firing, they opened a channel. A voice ancient and deep filled the air. We have watched. We have waited. You carry more than light. You carry the weight of choice. We will not stop you, but we will watch. And if you fall, we will bury what you carried in silence once more. Rain replied with calm strength. Then stay close. You may need to act sooner than you think. The Threk ships vanished without a trace. Later that night, Rain stood alone under the viewport. Stars glittered above. A soft hum came from the crystals. Echo chamber. Though the crystal now rested far away, its energy still touched him. Still guided him. Still tested him. Kayla joined him in silence. They didn't speak for minutes. Then she whispered, "Do you think this was fate?" Rain shook his head. "No, I think fate would have chosen someone stronger, smarter, someone with a plan. But it chose you," she said. Rain turned to her. "Then maybe what matters isn't the strength or the mind. Maybe it's just the willingness to ask why and not stop when the answers scare you." She smiled. A rare smile, a quiet one. "Then let's keep asking." And far across the stars, the ancient machines of the Makers stirred again, not to lead, not to control, but to watch, to see what one human would do next, because the crystal had chosen not just a man. It had chosen the only kind bold enough to carry hope into the unknown. Asterisk. The final storm came without a warning pulse or flash across the stars. It arrived in silence. Whole systems blinked out. Stations lost contact. Ships went dark. When scouts arrived, they found no wreckage. Just emptiness. Rain stood before the galaxy's leaders in a floating chamber above Nova Accord Station. Holograms of representatives surrounded him, some human, some alien. Others hard to define at all. For once, they all listened. Not because of fear, but because the one speaking had earned it. "We were told the crystal was a weapon," Rain said. "Then we were told it was a key, but it's neither. It's a mirror. It shows us what we are, and what will become if we don't. Change." He paused. The silence was heavy. Behind him, Kayla stood watchful. She no longer wore her Zorian military armor. Now she wore simple robes lined with symbols from every species who had joined the Accord. She was no longer just Zorian. She was witness. Rain continued. "Something is consuming the edges of this galaxy, not because it hates us, but because we waited too long to act. Now we must choose. Not between peace and war, but between unity or extinction," some delegates murmured. Others looked away. A few folded their arms. But no one interrupted. Rain lifted his hand. A projection of the old crystal map appeared. The systems once marked safe now blinked red. The darkness was spreading faster. "We don't need a weapon," Rain said. "We need each other. This is not about one species. This is about all life. A delegate from the Gethlin spoke, his voice deep and resonant. You ask us to trust the same humans we once fought. The same humans who fractured their own world. Rain nodded. Yes, and I don't blame you for doubting. But I'm not asking for blind trust. I'm asking for shared purpose. We still have time. But not much. The chamber fell quiet again. Then Kayla stepped forward. I fought him, she said. I doubted him. I watched my people fear him, but he never claimed glory. He never demanded loyalty. He carried the crystal when no one else could. And he asked questions when most would seek control. That is why I follow him. A slow ripple passed through the chamber. Symbols of agreement lit up one by one. A fragile unity began to form, not because Rain forced it, because he earned it. 3 days later, the new fleet launched, not of war, of rescue, of warning. Ships from a dozen species traveled together, side by side, sending signals, offering shelter, guiding the last colonies to safety before the darkness arrived. Rain's ship led the way. It was no longer just his. It had been modified, reinforced, and renamed the Dawnfire, a vessel built from unity, a symbol not of power but of survival earned together. Inside, Rain studied the final signal from the crystal's chamber. It had sent one last message, not a word, a feeling, hope laced with urgency, and coordinates deeper into the unknown than anything ever mapped. He turned to Kayla. You ready? She nodded. Always. They jumped. The destination was not a planet. It was a breach, a rip in space shaped like a spinning tear. It radiated no light, but it pulled at the soul. Behind it, systems vanished. Not destroyed. Consumed. Rain opened the final transmission. A universal broadcast. One last message. This is Rain Carter of Earth. We are the last chance. Not because we are special, but because we finally stood together. If you can hear this, know that we are not running, we are going in. The ship moved forward. Past the edge, past the last known star, into the dark. But even as they entered, the darkness trembled. For inside it now burned the spark of something it had never faced. A united galaxy led by a stubborn human who refused to let go. In the end, the crystal had not chosen a warrior or a ruler. It had chosen a question, and that question became the reason the galaxy stood a chance. What if we tried one more time?